guys, what's up? It's your girl Fayy Lenee back with another video, and for today's video I have got a foundation review for you, hunty. So if you are not aware, NYX recently collaborated with Alissa Ashley, and if you don't know who Alissa Ashley is, finish watching this video and then go and find out about her. She is a bomb YouTuber. Her quality is bomb. She is bomb. Her content is amazing. Definitely someone that I would say that I look to for like the standard on how to have a poppin' YouTube channel. But NYX recently collaborated with her on the shade range of a new foundation, which is their Can't Stop, Won't Stop foundation. Now this is a full coverage foundation that's supposed to have 24-hour wear. It's a drugstore foundation, so you guys already know it's affordable. If you're familiar with NYX, then you know their products are very affordable. And from the reviews that I have been watching, this is supposed to be a oily skin girl's dream. So you guys already know I have super oily skin, so I had to go ahead and pick this up for you guys. Literally, it was available in stores on Monday, and I went in there on Monday and picked this up to review for you guys so that I can let you guys know the tea on whether or not it is oily skin approved. So I picked this up. I also picked up the primer, the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop primer. So I'm going to be demoing the two of these for you guys in today's video, letting you guys know my thoughts and all of that good stuff. And yeah, that's pretty much all that I have to say for the intro. If you are new to my channel, welcome. As I said, my name is Fayy Lenee. Thank you so much for clicking on today's video and hanging out with me for today's review. Definitely be sure that you click on the subscribe button down below to join my fam and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss out on any of my future videos. And if you are not new, you guys already know what it is, so thank you so much for coming back. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the review. Alright guys, so as you can see, I have you up close and personal so that you can see what's going on. I do already have my eyes done because you guys know I always do my eyeshadow before foundation. I'm actually in the process of reviewing the Anastasia Norvina palette, so definitely stay tuned for that video. But as far as my face, I have already primed my skin. I use the Fenty Pro Filter Primer as well as the CoverGirl Skin Smoothing Primer. Now, I'm very excited to review this foundation for you guys. I've actually been wearing it for the past couple of days just so that I could have somewhat of an idea of how it wears throughout the day, since I knew that I would be filming this review for you guys a little bit later. It's currently 9:51 p.m. So I have been wearing it so that I can give you guys a full review, which I will give you guys a little bit towards the end of the video. But of course, I'm going to be showing you guys the application of the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop foundation, and they did also come out with a primer as well. This primer actually reminds me a lot of the Becca Evermatte primer. So if you have dry skin, I would not recommend this primer at all. It is very matte, extremely, extremely, extremely matte. And the first time that I wore it with the foundation, it actually was a little bit patchy with the foundation, so I'm going to try it again today with you guys on camera, and hopefully this will go over well. But I just applied it to my fingertips, and I'm just going to press it into the skin. And once it kind of starts to dry down, similar to the Becca primer, don't continue to rub it, just kind of press it in. And I'm really only going to put this on the areas where I'm like really, really oily. I'm not going to put it on my nose because I find that when I put primers like this on my nose, they tend to make the foundation separate a little bit. So I'm not going to put it on my nose. I'm just going to put it on like my cheek area because I tend to get oily here, and also on my forehead. The key with primers like this, because they dry down really fast, is you kind of want to work quickly, and you also don't want to manipulate the primer too much. Once it's in place, you kind of just want to leave it alone. Don't continue to rub and like press and mess with it, because that's when it's going to start to ball up and get crumbly and possibly ruin your foundation application. So next up, I'm going to go in with the NYX Can't Stop, Won't Stop foundation. I have mine in the shade Honey. I did also pick up the shade Cinnamon, and for the first time really almost ever in my life. More so recently because more brands are starting to be more inclusive with their foundation shades. But for the first time with a drugstore foundation, I found that I actually had several shades that could honestly kind of work with my skin tone, and I didn't have to mix a foundation shade. So I'm actually going to use the shade Honey with you guys today. It's really just a difference between like a warmer undertone versus a more neutral, cooler undertone. The cinnamon shade actually gives me more warm tones, and Honey gives me more neutral. So it kind of just depends on what you prefer. I could honestly go back and forth between both of them. Both of them match me very well. And like I said, the only difference is the undertone. So I'm actually just going to pump it out on the back of this Too Faced Peach Perfect powder. And as you can see, it's not super runny, but it is a little bit runny. And I'm going to apply it with a brush. This is my Morphe Y7 brush. And then I'm also going to go in on top of it once I have it applied to my face and blend it out with my Beauty Blender. Alright, so this is what we're looking like. One side of the face done compared to the other side. And I did go ahead and apply it across my whole forehead, but this is one side without the foundation, and then this is the side with the foundation. With the first layer, it is a medium to full coverage. I can still see a little bit of my dark spots in this area peeking through, but for the most part, the coverage is really good, and the finish of this foundation I'm obsessed with. It is very, very matte, but it is such a smooth, flawless finish, which you guys know I'm all about the full coverage, smooth, and flawless life. So I'm obsessed with the finish. So I'm going to go ahead and finish applying it to the other half of my face, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I went ahead and zoomed you guys in just a little bit more because I wanted you guys to really be able to see my skin. So as you can see, I have applied the foundation all over my entire face. This is what it's looking like. I'm not sure if you guys can see on camera because I know my lights kind of blur and smooth things a little bit, but in this area of my face, you can still slightly see a little bit of my dark spots peeking through, but normally whenever I apply concealer, that would be non-existent because I would bring my concealer down here, which would cover that up. But this is what it is looking like so far, and as you guys can see, like I said, the finish of the foundation is beautiful, and I actually didn't have to go over it with my Beauty Blender this time. I think when I applied this primer, the very first time that I applied it, I think I applied way too much. So that's another tip for you guys as well. You really only need like about a dime size, barely, of this primer, and then just kind of work it between your fingers and then smooth it on and then press it in. I also set my primer with a powder the first time that I did it, and that may have played a part as well with this primer. I'm going to continue to play around with it, but the foundation actually applied way better with the primer this time than it did whenever I applied it the first time. So I want to also quickly just add another layer on my cheek area just so that you guys can kind of see how it layers, which is hopefully good. So I'm just gonna kind of tap, tap, tap. And if you prefer applying your foundation with a brush, using tapping motions as opposed to swiping motions is going to really help you to get a lot more coverage out of your foundation. And it's definitely giving me a really nice buildable full, to full coverage finish. And now that I kind of have it applied where I want it and the coverage is pretty much what I like, I'm just gonna tap out the edges with my Beauty Blender so that I don't lose any of that coverage. I might have a new favorite drugstore foundation because this foundation looks so good on my skin, as you guys can see. And the color is a really good match for me, and just all around I'm really feeling it. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the rest of my face, and then I will be back to give you guys the details, all the specifics and all of that about the foundation, as well as my final thoughts and review about how the foundation wears throughout the day. Okay guys, so before I zoom you out and give you my final thoughts on the foundation, I just wanted to quickly show you the way everything came together on my skin. This is what we're looking like with the foundation and the primer. Now, I'm not sure if you guys will be able to see this or not, but I did notice that in the areas where I placed the primer that it is a little bit patchy, and I know that that's not the foundation because, like I said, I have been wearing the foundation for the past couple of days. I have worn it with and without the primer, and the only time that I see an issue with it is when I pair it with that particular primer. So I'm still in the process of kind of trying to figure out the best way to work with that foundation with the primer, because since I am oily, I would love to have another primer that will help to control the oil on my skin. But I can see like right in this area and like kind of up here in this area, which you guys may or may not be able to see on camera, but basically where my concealer met the foundation when I was blending it out with my beauty blender, I can see almost like a separation, and it was a whole lot more noticeable before I applied my bronzer and blush and highlight, because it kind of helped to mask that kind of area right there where your concealer and your foundation would meet. But there was what looked to be a little bit of a separation in that area, and I think a lot of that is because of the primer, because this is the area that I applied it in. So yeah, those are just a few of my thoughts. Like I said, I just wanted to jump on here really quickly before I zoom you guys out and show you how the face is looking. Alright guys, so I'm back. Makeup is done, which you guys already saw in the intro of the video, and I have to just say I'm low-key obsessed with this whole situation. And now I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the details, the specifics, and my final thoughts on how it wears throughout the day. So for starters, as I mentioned in the intro, Alissa Ashley did collaborate with NYX on this foundation to help them with the shade range, to make sure that they were inclusive on the shades that they were creating with this foundation. They did create a total of 45 foundation shades, which honestly, that is amazing for a drugstore brand. That's a lot of shades. So I am very impressed by that, and yeah, they did that on the shade range for sure. Now, this foundation is only available at Ulta, which I actually didn't realize until I am reading the little description here. The foundation is only available at Ulta, and it actually says on here it's supposed to be lightweight, waterproof, and pigmented AF. And that it's supposed to be full coverage, and yeah, it offers a comfortable liquid formula, 45 shades, different tones. It's supposed to glide on smooth, deliver a matte coverage, and stay true to color and last up to 24 hours. So, oh, and also, it does retail for $14.99, and the primer retails for $13.99. And currently, if you purchase the two of these either online or in store, NYX is currently have a buy one get one half off, which I would highly recommend. As you guys saw when I applied it to my skin, I mentioned in the demo that I have been kind of trying to play around with this primer, because I do find that this is very similar to the Becca Ever Matte Foundation Primer, and if you have ever used that primer, you more than likely had a little bit of a difficult time trying to use it the first time. The very first time that I used this primer, I think I used way too much on my skin, and I did find that it made the foundation very patchy, and it also made it kind of streaky, and it didn't apply very full coverage, and it honestly was making me feel like, ooh, this is probably not, like, I've been so excited about this foundation and it's probably not going to be good just from the primer. Now, as I mentioned, like I said in the demo, when I tried the primer this time, it did work a lot better for me. I used a lot less. I used like about a dime size amount, and I pretty much only applied it in my cheek area and on my forehead, and I just kind of like pressed it into my skin as opposed to like really just applying it all over my entire face as I did the first time that I used it, and it applied to my skin much better. Now, I did still notice a little bit of patchiness in some areas where I applied the primer. So I'm going to continue to play around with it, and I will keep you guys up to date on that. But if you are a super oily skin person, I would recommend picking up the primer. You just kind of have to play around with it and figure out the best way to apply it in conjunction with the foundation. But I promise you, it will keep you matte. And I'm also interested to see how this works with other foundations that I have. So I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to return it. It is a great primer, and it definitely mattifies you. But if you're not used to working with primers like this, you'll have to play around with it a little bit. So as far as the foundation is concerned, I give the foundation an A+. I love it. Absolutely love it. She did an amazing job on the shade range. I actually picked up 2 shades. I have the shade Honey and the shade Cinnamon. Like I said, they were buy one get one half off, so I just went ahead and picked up both of them. And if you go to the NYX website, you can actually see a chart of the different shades to kind of help you pick what you think your shade would be. So if you go to the website, you click on the foundation and scroll down a little bit, there will be an option that says help me find my shade, or find my foundation shade, or something like that. You can click on that and it will break it down for you: light, medium, medium deep, dark, or however it is that they categorize it, as well as cool, neutral, and warm. And it will show you other people who have those similar complexions to help you pick your shade. So that is actually what I used to pick out these 2 shades. And like I said, I got Honey and I got Cinnamon. Now the really cool thing about this is both of these shades actually work well for my skin tone. The difference between the 2 of them is that Honey is going to give me a more neutral undertone, and Cinnamon is going to give me a more warm undertone. I have worn both of them this week, and they both match me perfectly. Once I apply all of my other products and set my foundation and all of that, they both match me beautifully. The only difference is that the warm undertone one just gives my skin a more golden kind of look to it, which I'm not mad at. So I was thinking that I might return one of these, but I think I'm actually just going to keep both of them because they both match my skin tone, and I can kind of decide, like, am I trying to look like a golden goddess, or am I trying to just be basic AF? And I can wear any of the 2 of these for whichever of those looks that I'm going for. And I think these would also be really great for mixing with other foundations as well, to kind of help to customize my colors. So yeah, I think, oh, also let me go ahead and mention to you guys about the wear. So I wore these foundations on a regular work day. I work an 8-hour day, and I have an hour drive to work and an hour drive home, thanks to Atlanta traffic. So pretty much a 10-hour day. And honestly, this foundation is the best, and I'm not exaggerating. I'm not just saying this because you guys already know I would keep it 100 with you guys if it was terrible. But this foundation is the best foundation from the drugstore, obviously in conjunction with my other primers, that I have found for oily skin. Like, honestly, this is about to be a holy grail foundation. I can already tell, because I did not have to really touch up at all. Normally with my foundations, even if it's a matte foundation and I take all the precautions with primers and baking and all of that, normally about halfway through the day, like around 1 o'clock, I have to kind of what's it called, blot I have to blot my skin and kind of apply a little bit of translucent powder. And with this foundation, I could do that, but I didn't really have to do that. And normally with my regular foundations, by the time I get home at the end of the day around 5 or 6 o'clock, my foundation, my face has pretty much had it. It's oily, it's separating, it's breaking up, it doesn't look good. I'm ready to wash my face and just get it off of my skin. Whereas this foundation honestly held up for me a solid, I don't know how many hours it would be, but my full work day all the way through about like 8 or 9 p.m. when I actually went to wash my face, I was shocked looking in the mirror and seeing how flawless it still looked. And I had a little bit of oiliness kind of seeping through in this area, which is where I normally tend to get oily because my pores are large in this area, and a little bit on my forehead. But honestly, it wasn't anything terrible, and that foundation probably could have stayed on my face for several more hours if I just blotted and added a little bit of translucent powder. I would have been good to go for another couple of hours for sure. So if you have oily skin, of course the question is, do I recommend this foundation? And I absolutely do. If you have dry skin, I would not pick up the primer. Just don't even think about it, girl. Just pass on it. just pass on it. Trust me, this will be a nightmare for you, so just pass on it. But I do think that you could get away with wearing the foundation. I would say just make sure that you really hydrate the skin, and you probably won't really need to set it with a powder because it's pretty matte by itself. But as long as your skin is hydrated and moisturized, you could definitely get away with wearing this foundation. And if you have dry or normal skin, it'll probably last on you like forever. Because on me, with my super oily skin, it lasted on me for a pretty decent amount of time. So if you don't have to be worrying about oil seeping through and like all of that extraness on your face, it'll probably really stay flawless on you for as long as you need it to. And yeah, I think that is pretty much all that I have to share with you guys for this review. I hope that you found it helpful. Let me know down below in the comments if you have picked up this foundation, what you think about it, or if you are planning on picking it up. Also, if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, help your girl out and give it a thumbs up. And yeah, that's all that I got. So thank you guys so much again for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you very soon in my next video. Thank you.